It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning. Welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News Podcast on this, the 30th day of September 2022. The third landfall for Hurricane Ian is expected this afternoon. Tropical Storm Orlene strengthens. Carnival hosts Bahamian students. These and a lot more stories here at 11 o'clock this morning. Today, folks, is kind of a little different day for me. Today is International Podcast Day. And the reason I use that today rather than, something to eat or drink day, because I've recently found that I have quite a international audience that listens to the podcast. I had no idea. I even found out that my friends up north of the border that are listening, that I now rank like in the top 50 podcasts in Canada, which I found shocking. I had no idea that I had that kind of a share of the marketplace. Several other countries that I ranked very well, and I was, surprised at some, and some that I had no idea. But anyway, if you're listening via the podcast, whether you're in the U.S. or international, you can always access the podcast via my blog, accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcasts from. All the major big hitters, all you got to do is search for travel and cruise industry news. So, as always, in the description of the podcast will be a link if you'd like to flip over to the video feed just to check out pictures or clips that I may be showing that day. Excuse me. I figured out why my throat has been a little rough the last couple days, folks. When I went to the pulmonologist, they gave me this new fandangled inhaler to hopefully will help with my breathing. It's similar to the old-fashioned inhalers, but different. Still expensive. It's ridiculously expensive. But anyway, this thing is supposed to open my breathing passages some, or do things in my lungs. I don't know. But anyway, I'm starting to, and I'm sure it's because of this, because this is fairly new since I started the treatments. I'm coughing a little bit, and I'm, coughing some crap up too. So if I seem like I'm clearing my throat or coughing more than usual, I apologize in advance. So, all right, my buddies Sue and Barry are in Naples today, Italy, of course. And that's a couple pictures from Naples. And we tried doing this when I was with them on Symphony of the Seas. We tried to talk Barry into getting a pedicure, and he thought, I'm not going to go get a pedicure. And, I explained to him that I have one, about every, 6 weeks or so. And there are other men that have pedicures. And meantime, their stepson says, yeah, I just had one. So, but Barry refused to go with us. But Sue finally talked him into going for a pedicure. So I sent him a message this morning. I said, see, I told you so. And then this was, that was on board the Wonder of the Seas in the evening. And that's one of those Italian fellas, isn't it? I don't know. Anyway, that's my buddies, Sue and Barry Shearer. They're on Wonder of the Seas over there in Europe. And they were in. That's right. I missed a day. Then Rome, they were at Civitavecchia, and just they didn't do any of the tours because they were just in Rome not too long ago, but they just walked around the port all day. And of course, that's the statue, the same statue that we have in San Diego. And I found out that statue is several places around the world. But anyway, Civitavecchia does have one also. All right. Our buddy Cindy got home last night, as a matter of fact, despite all the weather. But I had, missed a day yesterday because of the hurricane catching up with everybody. And she was in Barcelona with the girls. And of course, they did some hiking and touring around Barcelona. And then my buddy Rochelle was at Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany. This was the castle that gave Walt Disney the idea for Cinderella's castle. How about that? I think that was pretty cool. And of course, Rochelle is going to get in a church or a cathedral, no matter where she is. Of course, she is a tour guide for a church group, which that helps some as well. And then this one was from the Linderhof Palace in Germany. So, last couple days of Rochelle's travels in Germany. All right, I'll be back with today's news and, of course, weather right after a word from one of our network sponsors. All right. As Florida contends with widespread damage left behind by Hurricane Ian and what officials say is likely the largest natural disaster in the state's history, people in South Carolina are now bracing for the storm's expected landfall this afternoon. Ian is re-strengthened in the Atlantic to a Category 1 hurricane and is packing sustained winds of about 85 miles an hour. The storm path says it'll make landfall probably between Charleston and Myrtle Beach. The destructive crawl across Florida, of course, brought just extraordinary flooding. It's prompted hundreds of rescues by land, air, and sea. So far, it looks like the latest number of deceased is at 19 now from the storm. And 2 million are still without power, but they are working diligently to get that back on. Here's what the situation looks like currently, as Ian is right off the coast. This is the current cone of uncertainty, where it should land this afternoon and head up to Virginia. And just as a personal note on that, I checked the weather maps about 15 minutes ago, and the outer bands of rain, the closest to me, is now about 5 miles down the road. So probably before this broadcast is over, it's going to be raining here. So anyway, the National Hurricane Center says life-threatening storm surge and hurricane conditions expected today along the Carolina coast. Flooding rains likely across the Carolinas and southern Virginia. Summary of warnings and watches. A storm surge warning is in effect still for Flagler-Volusia County line in Florida to Cape Fear, North Carolina, the Neuse River in North Carolina, the St. Johns River in Florida. I know it had not been as bad as they thought at first in the Jacksonville area, but then it was supposed to get some flooding and a lot of storm surge during the night last night. I have not heard this morning how conditions are in Jacksonville. But they were still getting hit pretty hard during the night. Hurricane warning is in effect for Savannah River to Cape Fear, North Carolina. Tropical storm warning is in effect for Altamaha Sound, Georgia to Savannah River, Cape Fear to Duck, North Carolina, and the Pamlico Sound. Storm surge watch is in effect for north of Cape Fear to Duck, North Carolina, Pamlico River, and Cape Fear River. Hurricane watch is in effect for east of Cape Fear to Surf City, North Carolina. And remember, as this thing approaches Carolina, the north side of this storm is where you're going to get a lot of damage. That's how I'm getting rain all the way up here in Virginia soon. That's from the north side of the storm. The last numbers I had, the center of Hurricane Ian was located about 100 miles south of Charleston, South Carolina, which is about 185 miles south-southwest of Cape Fear, North Carolina. Ian is moving toward the north at 9. This general motion will increase in forward speed this morning, followed by a turn toward the north-northwest by tonight. The center of Ian will approach and reach the coast of South Carolina this afternoon, and then move further inland across eastern Carolina and central North Carolina tonight and tomorrow. Currently, maximum sustained winds are 85 with higher gusts. The strength is going to stay fairly stable until it reaches the coast later today, and then rapid weakening is expected after landfall. And Ian is forecast to become extratropical low over North Carolina tonight or early tomorrow, and the low is expected to dissipate by tomorrow night. So we're going to be done with this sucker tomorrow night, folks, and I thank God for that. Hurricane force winds extend from 70 miles from the center. Tropical storm force winds extend 485 miles still from the center. Yesterday was over 700 miles. It's still almost 500 miles from the center. You got tropical winds. They had just had a 40 mile an hour with a gust to 58 wind reported in Fort Sumter, South Carolina. The central pressure is at 984, so it's still in the range of, where it can be nasty. As far as storm surge goes, Modesto Beach to Little River Inlet, 4 to 7 feet. Little River Inlet to Cape Fear, 3 to 5. Savannah River to Modesto Beach, 3 to 5. Flagler to Volusia County line to Savannah River, 2 to 4. Cape Fear River, 2 to 4. St. Johns River, 2 to 4. East of Cape Fear to Duck, including Pamlico and Noyce River, 2 to 4. Patrick Air Force Base to Flagler, Volusia County line, 1 to 3. Albemarle Sound, 1 to 2. And of course, the deepest water will occur along the immediate coast near and to the right of the center, where the surge will be accompanied by large waves. A lot of that, whether it's not so bad or really bad, depends on the tide cycle as well. Can vary greatly over short distances. Rainfall northeast of South Carolina, northeastern South Carolina, if I get my tongue to work, up to 12 inches. Central South Carolina, North Carolina, and southern Virginia up to 8 inches, mostly the worst part across northwest North Carolina and southwestern Virginia. Major to record river flooding will continue across central Florida, possibly through the weekend. So, and there, of course, could be flash and urban flooding all through the South Carolina, North Carolina, and parts of Virginia. There could be a few tornadoes to spin up this afternoon after landfall. And of course, all up and down the coasts of Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, Over in the Bahamas, you could have life-threatening surf and rip current conditions. All right. The good news about this, folks, is that by tomorrow night, it's going to be gone. Not much else in the way of good news when you're talking about Hurricane Ian. All right, we also got to look at get my tongue to work here. Orlene. Orlene strengthens as it turns northwestward. Tropical Storm Orlene has been steadily building in the past few days, expected to reach hurricane force today. The storm is on a direct path to the Mexican Riviera with heavy swells in the area, making an impact on cruises more than likely in the upcoming days. Interests along the coast of western Mexico should monitor the progress of Orlene. Watches may be required later this morning and for portions of the western Mexican coastline. The cone of uncertainty for this, as you can see, a lot depends on how much of this turn it makes. It could go anywhere probably from Puerto Vallarta to actually a little bit, that would be northwest of Mazatlan. Anywhere in there is where we could have landfall of Hurricane Orlene when it sorry about that. Did I kick myself off again? I think I did. I should be back. Wow. Anyway, Hurricane Orlene could fall anywhere from Puerto Vallarta to Mazatlan. No telling. The center of Tropical Storm Orlene was located about 250 miles southwest of Manzanilla. It's moving toward the northwest about 5 miles an hour. A turn toward the north is expected by tonight, along with a slight increase in forward speed. Orlene is then forecast to turn toward the north-northeast by tomorrow. Maximum sustained winds currently are 60 with higher gusts. Steady to rapid strengthening is expected during the next 24 hours or so. Orlene is forecast to become a hurricane by tonight or tomorrow morning. Unlike Ian, Orlene is a small tropical cyclone. Tropical storm force winds extend outward only 35 miles from its center. The estimated central pressure is at 999 and dropping. So it could get worse and it could grow considerably. We'll just have to watch that and see. However, this is not going to be anywhere near big as Ian was. All right, cruise ports likely to be impacted include Mazatlan, Cabo San Lucas, and Puerto Vallarta. This would mean that cruise ships visiting the area between today and Monday will likely see some effects and changes due to the storm. Royal Princess is scheduled for 2 calls in the area. Tomorrow, it is due in Puerto Vallarta. And on Monday, it's expected to make a call on Mazatlan. Sapphire Princess is scheduled to make a call in Puerto Vallarta tomorrow. Celebrity Millennium is due to sail from San Diego going south with a first call scheduled in Puerto Vallarta on Monday. Navigator of the Seas is supposed to be in Ensenada on Sunday. Right now, that is a wait and see situation. There may be some other ships that are sailing to the Mexican Riviera, and we'll update those as we get information on what they're doing. So, another hurricane to look at. Be glad when this season's over. Man. All right, there's only one news story today. There's really not much happening in the way of news other than weather. Carnival Cruise Line hosted a group of 40 Bahamian students and maritime industry leaders aboard the Carnival Dream in Nassau for a day of education and fun in honor of Bahamas Maritime Week. The Carnival Dream crew spoke to the LJM Marine Academy students about shipboard careers and job opportunities. The group has also treated to a special tour of the ship and a luncheon. In conjunction with the Bahamas Maritime Authority, Carnival coordinated the visit as part of the agency's Maritime Week, a series of events held from September 26th through the 30th to showcase career opportunities in the industry to the next generation of Bahamian professionals. Carnival Cruise Line gifted the Academy $50,000 for specialized equipment supporting cadet education in celebration of its 50th birthday celebration. So, congratulations to Carnival and to the Bahamian Maritime students who got to have some fun on board a ship. And it was probably pretty educational as well. All right, that wraps up the news portion today. Again, other than weather, there wasn't much other than the Bahamas. So let's see who's in the chat room. If anybody's fussing at me today, found some mistakes or something that I've said wrong, which is always possible. Mike's with us. Hi, Mike. Katie's with us. Hey, Katie, are you back home yet, Katie? Carol's with us. Hi, Carol. Everybody's saying good morning to each other. Nikki's with us. Good morning, gang, she says. How's things in Jacksonville, Nikki? We're all good here. Our sons went back to St. Augustine to check on their boats. Haven't heard, so I'm assuming they didn't sink. Hot Air Tom is with us. Hello, everyone. Just finishing a wine tasting on the ship. What is today's event? I recommend Wine Day. Today is we're celebrating the podcast, international podcast today, Hot Air Tom. I had no idea that I was in the top 50 podcasts in Canada. That one floored me. So I said, I'm on the computer. You got that. You got to have that wrong. Anyway, Katie says she loves doing wine tasting on the ships. Wines around the world is the event. USA, France, Italy, Chile. Yeah, not me. Chile and Argentine. We had some rain and this is Nikki. We had some wind and rain, but not as much as anticipated. A tree in our development was uprooted, but didn't fall on anything. Well, that's good. Amy's with us. Hi, Amy. I did one on my Alaskan cruise on Princess. Yeah. Kenneth's with us. Kenneth's back from Bermuda. Hi, Kenneth. All the New York airport flying back to Pennsylvania. Oh, at the New York airport flying back to Pennsylvania today. Okay. So he's back from Bermuda. Okay. R. Martin is with us. Sorry I joined late. When is Port Canaveral scheduled to reopen? Very good question. I have not heard anything on Port Canaveral this morning. Come to think about it. Let's see if I can find out something right here while we ask. Updates on cruise itineraries due to Hurricane Ian. This is going to have it. This was just up in the last hour. So Florida home ports, there we go. Charleston is at Zulu, which of course is closed. Port Miami is back to normal operations. We knew that yesterday. Port Everglades is back to normal. Port Canaveral is still Zulu, which means closed. The port is currently assessing any potential damage and remains closed at this time. All visitors to the port and tenants are reminded not to return until damage assessments are completed. So that's pretty much. Tampa is also still Zulu. I would say that at least and Jacksonville is Zulu. Okay. I would say that at least for the next 12 hours, those conditions will remain. So that would be my assumption on that one, R. Martin. So that's primarily about as quick as we can get to it. That was an hour ago. So there's a possibility it could change late this afternoon, but more than likely it won't happen until tomorrow morning. So, all right, where was I? Katie's still at her sister. A lot of flooded roads, so don't know when I'm heading home. Good. Okay, stay there where you're safe and sound. How is your school? I don't know anything about damage to schools in my district. Wow, I see some blue sky for once. Just a small area, but that beats anything all cruise. Yeah, you've had some kind of, ugly weather through a good bit of this one, Hot Air Tom. Or was it the wine? Maybe it was the wine and you're just seeing blue. Was it blue wine? I don't know. I'm not a wine drinker. Although we had wine for dinner a couple nights ago. That was a nice little treat. We don't do that very often, but every now and then Amanda will decide. By the way, Amanda, my niece, cooked a breakfast casserole this morning. It was awesome. I ate like a king. I ate like I ate on a cruise ship today here at the house. That was really nice. So Katie says as long as they are using schools as shelter, there won't be school. Now that's true. And the whole Orlando area has gotten hit so much worse than expected, and there's been so much more flooding in that area than expected. R. Martin thanks me. Anytime. Join us anytime you'd like, because we try to keep up with things. And my apologies for not actually doing that before I got on the air and having that in the stupid weather stories this morning. I've been doing that the last couple of days. I'm just getting old and forgetful. I'm getting tired of doing the weather. That's the biggest problem. I want things back to normal with no weather to even look at. Hot Air says, any news on what the cardiologist is going to do to help you? I'll leave that up to Nikki to tell you what's going to be happening. Hot Air Tom. She's chatted a bit about that. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. I will stay on top of things throughout the weekend. I will either go live when anything earth-shattering happens, or get a video up quickly. So just always, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, I've also been forgetting about inviting you to subscribe. Please consider subscribing. The bell notification will tell you when I go live or when a new video is up. I am posting a lot of new videos, especially shorts, which are helping to build traffic to the channel. I'm also, because it's been requested by a possible sponsor, I'm working a lot on my Instagram reels as well. So I'm trying to get better at that. But that was a request from a possible sponsor, so I'm trying to oblige as much as possible. So that's what's going on in my world. But anyway, if you hit the bell notification when something goes up on the YouTube channel, you'll be notified. And of course, we always appreciate thumbs up or thumbs down. You could do thumbs down if you don't like the show. Do that just as well. But this, as long as you knows that somebody cares, good or bad. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap me. Of course, I'd appreciate good. Don't get me wrong. I know Hot Air Tom is the first one to say bad. Anyway, you guys have a fantastic day. I'll try to keep things going over the weekend. So stay on your toes. I'm liable to go live in a heartbeat. And if not, I will see everybody back here on Monday for Monday's Travel and Cruise Industry News podcast. As always, guys, stay safe, stay healthy. Think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Later, y'all.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.